little children, I'll take thee away into a land of enchantment. Come, little children, the time's come to play here in my garden of shadows.
Hello, I'm Runya, aka Media Adaptation, and welcome back to Moderation's 31 Days of Halloween. We'll do a video each day based on your suggestions. We've covered many obscure international horror movies before, namely of a particular type, as one internet personality has said.
And I'm currently embroiled in a massive investigation into Chinese movies that rip off half a dozen Japanese ghost movies in the same vein as The Ring and The Grudge, and have them all fight each other. Yes, beyond the official fight that those two franchises had. It's a rabbit hole!
Thank you so much for the shout out, Linkara, and for also letting me use that clip. But yes, over the past few years, we'll look at the vast rabbit hole that is the Oriental ghost fights, namely from Japan, China, and Korea. And just because they didn't have something petty like the right to actually use certain characters wouldn't stop them from trying. And yes, our channel got deleted and haven't really re-uploaded them yet. I thought it'd be a fun idea to make a list going over some of them and trying to be as spoiler-free as I can, so some people can still check them out if they want. Oh, and just a quick heads up, I did have to order a few of these from Japan, so fair warning before you go looking for them. There are about 16, more or less, so let's count them down from worst to best in my opinion. If you'd rank them differently, then please let us know down in the comments below. But anyway, let's get started. Honorable mention comes to Bushin Saba's team up with Daishin, an oddity in among itself, and does a wonderful job with the source material. The concept of a team up is something that we've never seen before, or since. And the one negative aspect about it, which also does affect a few others, is the ending is a bit too, Chinese government for my taste. Number 16, Daishin vs. Kayako. This one is just a rip-off of a much better one later down the line, with the two ghosts not even seeing each other till the very end. Technically, one of them never sees the other, as Daishin just puts him in a headlock, and that's the end. So yeah, don't go looking for this one. Number 15, Kuchisaki Onna vs. Kuchisaki Onna, aka Dead Life Broadcast. I have a very high concern that these are even the ghosts that they claim to be, but this was the title that I found them under, and it's another story about two fighters that don't really meet each other till the very end. The difference here being that it's still a pretty good story, even with that being left out. Just don't expect a fight going into this one. Number 14, Kuchisaki Onna vs. Hikiko-san. Second verse same as the first. The stories by themselves are okay, but a very disappointing battle at the end. But thankfully now we can move on to fights that don't end in one hit. Number 13, Tumi vs. Tumi. A very different one compared to the others, as neither of them are really fighters, but control others to do their bidding. So it plays out more like a chess match between them, with move and counter move, and helps fix some in-universe lore while they're at it. Number 12, Kuchisaki Onna vs. Kuchisaki Onna 2, aka Fear the Beauty of the Basement Speaks. I still don't know what that means to this day. But here, it's a much better and slow burn story. Like the last one, it's still human versus ghost, but it is worth finding if you can. It's also a much shorter story, as I believe this was part of an anthology. But that just means that they don't need to have any needless padding, like some of the others do. Number 11, Hanako vs. Yosuke. This one is kind of cheating, as Yosuke isn't a real ghost. Hanako's legend has two versions, a good and a bad side. Yosuke is a stand-in for her evil side, so we finally get to see which of the two is stronger, and get to find out just how OP Hanako really is. If I could ever hire someone to do a death battle type sprite animation, she would be one of my picks. Number 10, Hikiko-san vs. Sadako. False advertisement aside, as these are not Sadako, just 3 lesser psychics, based more on Okiku's story more than anything, the story that Sadako is technically based on, but that's splitting hairs. It's still a very good story, even if it's not them. It doesn't waste time just jumping straight into the fights by the second act, and we learn the harsh truth that when multiple beings of this level fight, the losers are normally the humans that are caught in the crossfire. Number 9. Hikiko-san vs. Hikiko-san. More human versus ghost, but in the style of the old delinquent exploitation film of the early 90s. It's a lot of fun, and also has a very good over-the-top fight at the end, proving to the others on this list that this style can be done competently. Number 8. Kuchisaki Onna vs. Mary-san. Mary the Living Doll is a character that never really gets a shine outside of the world of manga, where she did have a fight with Sadako once. So it's great to finally see her in a live-action role. She does a great job in her solo parts, sporting more of a puppet master ability set, but you do need a little bit of suspension of disbelief when the final battle happens. Number 7. Kuchisaki Onna vs. Teki Teki. Number 2. We'll sing the praises of number 1 soon enough. But its sequel goes for a very different route, weaving its story of why these two ghosts are fighting, and making an endless loop of the two just bringing out the worst in each other. Number 6. Sadako vs. Kayako. It speaks volumes when the most well-known of these stories is down this far on the list. It works fine as two different tales, but when you bring them together, it just shows how mismatched this fight really is, and as Kayako can barely hold on. Heck, Toshio got yeeted out of the fight right off the bat. It does leave off on some interesting possibilities story-wise, but part of me kinda knows that they're never going to expand on it. Number 5. Bushin Saba vs. Kayako. Don't know how this one got this high on the list till I started writing it out. We get a good ghost story and a very high action fight scene at the end. And I think I put it so high because I didn't actually see this fight coming, as the version of the movie I watched was called Sadako Wars. So it was a nice little surprise, and I was over the moon when we got to that point. But much like our honorable mention, this one suffers from governmental oversight. But I still don't think it drags it down the story that much. Number 4. Hikiko-san vs. Kokori-san. Two very different ghosts. Kokori being the Japanese fortune-telling fox spirit, much like Korea's Bushin Saba and China's Daishin. And Hikiko-san being a physically strong spirit of vengeance. This one got a very good budget size as well, and had a blast with the concept. So, in this battle, can quality really trump quantity? Number 3. Sadako vs. Bushin Saba. Made a year before the others came out, and is the gold star of what these kind of ghost fights should be. And while either intentionally or unintentionally, still fitting into both their lores, with a few Easter eggs sprinkled in. Both are relative equals, with Sadako being a bit stronger, and our other needing to figure out a workaround for it. While our human characters aren't worthless, you care about their struggle, and them trying to avoid Sadako, and trying to learn more about Bushin Saba's backstory. This is a must-watch for all horror fans. Number 2. Kuchisaki Onna vs. Teki Teki. You know that the final act of a horror movie is always the best. So, what if you take that and make it its own movie? These two powerhouses just enjoy messing with their prey, even giving them a little bit of a head start, just to make it more fun, and them only getting brief moments of relief, followed by other tense sequences. Topping it all off with a first confusing, yet ultimately fitting ending. Worth a watch even if you don't have subtitles. And finally, our number 1 for our best ghost fight being Sadako vs. Bushin Saba 2. Taking everything about the first one and ramping it up to 11. Your wholesome little conclusion to the first story actually turned out to be the worst possible mistake you could have made in your life, with Sadako being supercharged, and now becomes a supernatural arms race to find even more power, leaving you with some wonderful oh shit moments as power creep becomes a thing, and leaving off with the promise of an epic conclusion down the line. But wait, didn't Sadako vs. Bushin Saba 3 come out this year? Well, yes and no, but that's a topic best saved for its own video. But that about does it for this video. If you have any topics for future projects, then feel free to post them down in the comments below. And while you're down there, why not like, and make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. Still slowly recovering from the deletion. But anyway, I'll see you guys later. Anyway, I'm Runya, invite you to join us again for the next night.
Weep not, poor children, for life is this way, murdering beauty and passion.